There's a sealed packet of chemicals in your pocket right now, holding enough energy to lift you to the top of a 25-story building. Its insides are flammable. It can supply its own oxygen when it burns, and the film keeping its two halves apart is a third the thickness of a human hair, or thinner. Tonight, you'll plug it into the wall and force that energy back in at speeds that would once have wrecked it, and you won't think about it once. This is how your phone charges in minutes without burning your house down. And what happened to the one phone that got the margins wrong? Peel open a phone battery, please don't, and you find a sandwich, rolled or stacked in layers. One slice is the cathode, a metal oxide. One is the anode, made of graphite, pencil lead. Between them, a porous plastic film called the separator. The whole stack is soaked in electrolyte, an organic solvent that ferries lithium ions. It is also, inconveniently, flammable. The separator is the only thing physically keeping the two sides apart. In a modern cell, 24 thousandths of a millimeter or less, a third the width of a human hair, and in many phones thinner still. Hold a fully charged one, and you're holding 15 to 20 watt-hours, enough energy to boil a small cup of water, packed into a slab the size of a chocolate bar. The entire safety story of your phone comes down to controlling what crosses that hair-thin film. So let's watch it work. A lithium-ion battery doesn't burn fuel, and it doesn't eat its own electrodes like the batteries that came before it. The Nobel Committee put it plainly. This battery isn't based on reactions that break down its electrodes, just lithium ions flowing back and forth between the two sides. Think of each electrode as a parking garage. The graphite side is a stack of atom-thin floors, and lithium ions park between them. That's called intercalation. At full charge, the garage is packed. One lithium parked for every 6 carbon atoms. Using your phone empties the garage. Ions drift across to the cathode, and every ion that crosses sends an electron the long way round, through your screen, your chip, your speaker. That electron current is the battery working. Charging just runs the garage in reverse. The charger pushes the ions back across to the graphite, one parking spot at a time. Back and forth, thousands of times, and the electrodes barely change. That's the trick that made a rechargeable world. Getting there, though, involved a decade of fires. The story starts in the 1970s oil crisis, with a British chemist named Stanley Whittingham hunting for a way off fossil fuels. His battery was brilliant, an intercalation cathode, a metallic lithium anode, just over 2 volts. And it had one catastrophic habit. The anode was pure lithium metal. Recharge it, and the lithium doesn't redeposit smoothly. It grows microscopic metal whiskers, reaching across toward the other side. When a whisker touches the far electrode, the cell shorts. In the Nobel Committee's own words, the battery was too explosive to be viable. 1980, John Goodenough finds a cobalt oxide cathode that nearly doubles the voltage, as much as 4 volts. 1985, Akira Yoshino makes the decisive move. He throws the lithium metal out entirely. Both sides become parking garages, and only ions ever travel. No bulk lithium metal left to grow whiskers. Sony put it on the market in 1991, and in 2019, the three of them shared the Nobel Prize in Chemistry. Goodenough, at 97, the oldest person ever awarded a Nobel. Now, the part that sounds reckless, forcing all of that to run at 100 watts. Here's the first thing most people get wrong. Your charger is not in charge. Plug in, and before any real power flows, the charger and your phone talk. Over a dedicated wire in the cable, the charger advertises a menu. 5 volts, 9, 15, 20. Your phone reads the menu, checks its own battery, temperature, charge level, health, and requests exactly what it wants. The charger obeys, and the phone can renegotiate at any moment. The USB power delivery standard runs this auction up to 240 watts, enough for a workstation laptop. Phones typically settle for a few dozen. Some flagships, with proprietary tricks, push well past 100. Notice what goes up: the voltage, not the current. Heat in a cable rises with the square of the current. So to move more power through the same thin wire, you raise the pressure, not the flow. Inside the phone, converters step that voltage back down to what the cell wants, and the battery management system, a chip that never sleeps, watches temperature, voltage, and current the whole time. If anything drifts out of bounds, it throttles or cuts the power mid-charge. Fast charging isn't brute force. It's a negotiation that never stops. So why not just double it again? Charge in 5 minutes? Because of what happens at the doors of the parking garage. Ions don't teleport into the graphite. They have to work their way in, floor by floor. Push them faster than they can park, and they start piling up at the entrance. Piled up lithium doesn't stay as ions. It deposits as metallic lithium, a silvery crust plating the anode surface. The exact metal Yoshino spent the 80s getting rid of. Plated lithium is permanent damage, and it can grow the old enemy. Dendrites, metal fingers reaching for that hair-thin separator. Cold makes it drastically worse. Below freezing, ions park so slowly that the industry rule for consumer cells is simply, don't charge them at all. That's why your phone charges at a crawl or refuses when it's cold. So every fast charge profile is shaped like a race with a careful ending. Empty battery, low voltage, the doors are wide open. Slam the power in. That's why 0 to 50% takes minutes. But as the garage fills, the cell's voltage rises to its ceiling, about 4.2 volts in a typical phone cell. And from there, the charger holds the voltage steady and lets the current taper to a trickle. That's the whole shape of it. Constant current, then constant voltage. The last 20% is slow because slow is the only safe way to park the final ions. Your phone isn't being lazy at 90%. It's being careful. And if it all goes wrong anyway, the failure that everything you've just seen is built to prevent has a name that sounds like what it is: thermal runaway. A lithium-ion fire is a chain with the same basic links. It starts with heat, from an internal short, a crushed cell, a manufacturing flaw. Around 80 to 120 degrees Celsius, the protective film on the anode begins to decompose, and the reactions that eat it release more heat. Around 130 degrees, the plastic separator melts. The one wall between the electrodes disappears, and the cell short-circuits through itself, dumping its stored energy as still more heat. Then the cruelest link. Hot cathode material starts releasing oxygen from its own crystal structure. The fire no longer needs air. It brought its own oxidizer. The industry's term is venting with flame. The cell can reach 500 degrees, jetting burning electrolyte, and smothering barely helps because the oxygen is coming from inside. And one cell's flame becomes the neighbor cell's trigger. That's runaway. Not an explosion exactly, a chemical domino run that cannot be talked out of finishing. Which brings us to August 2016. Samsung launches the Galaxy Note 7, described in many reviews as the best Android phone made to that point. Within days, the first one burns, then more. By early September, Samsung is recalling about 2.5 million phones worldwide. Samsung ships replacements with batteries from a different supplier. Then a replacement phone starts smoking on a US airliner. On October 11th, Samsung kills the product entirely. 3 days later, US authorities issue an emergency order banning the Note 7 from every flight. The phone itself banned from the sky, including in checked bags and cargo. US safety regulators had logged 92 overheating reports, 26 burns, 55 cases of property damage. The recall is thought to have cost around $5.3 billion. Months of investigation followed, Samsung's own, plus 3 independent labs. The verdict: not fast charging, not software. 2 different flaws in 2 different batteries. In the first battery, the casing squeezed the electrodes, not enough room, and the layers deflected in a corner, close enough to touch. In the second, from a different factory, welding defects and missing insulation did the same job by another route. 2 suppliers, 2 mistakes. 1 lesson: A lithium-ion cell's entire safety lives in tolerances of thousandths of a millimeter. Lose that margin anywhere, and the domino chain is waiting. So what does all this mean for the phone in your hand, and for all the battery advice you've ever been given? First truth: batteries age by chemistry, not betrayal. Every cycle thickens a microscopic crust inside the cell, quietly locking away a little lithium. Capacity fades gradually, over years, not weeks. Myth 1. Overnight charging overcharges the battery. On a modern phone, it can't. The charge cycle terminates itself, and the management chip stands guard. The real cost of overnight charging is hours parked at maximum voltage, the battery's most stressful state. That's exactly why many phones now offer an 80% limit and pace overnight charging to finish near your alarm. Less time at the top, longer life. Myth 2. Fast charging is frying your battery. A managed fast charge is designed to stay below the plating limit. The negotiation and the taper exist precisely for that. The real enemies are heat and time spent at the extremes. So the honest short list has 3 items. Keep it out of the heat. Don't live at 0 or 100%. Let the phone manage the speed. Everything else is folklore. And the fear version, it could go off at any moment, fails on the numbers. Quality cells fail at rates the industry puts below 1 in a million. For the best cells, below 1 in 10 million. Step back, and the scale is absurd. By the mid-2020s, world demand for these cells passed a terawatt-hour every single year, most of it now for cars. Billions of tiny reactors riding in pockets, on wrists, under car seats, each held safe by a hair-thin film, a vigilant chip, and a negotiation you never see. The 1970s version was too explosive to sell. The one in your pocket is so safe you forgot it was dangerous. That gap is what engineering looks like. If you want more of the machinery hiding inside ordinary life, subscribe to Beneath the Wires for more hidden engineering.